I have quite a few interesting and important Japan updates to share with you before you head out on your next big Japan adventure. The yen has surprised everyone and hit a new 34-year low against the US dollar. Osaka's government is considering whether to implement a tourist tax or not, and a brand new public toilet tour you can't miss out on are just a few of the important updates you need to know about. Plus, stick around to the end as I have some interesting bonus news to share with you as a reward for watching the whole video. So without further delay, let's jump right into the news and get you up to date on Japan's newest updates. If you are overwhelmed with the endless amount of things to do for your upcoming trip to Japan, well, I have the solution just for you. And that solution is my business, Hidden Japan Journeys. After years of living in Japan, I have gained a wealth of knowledge about how to easily get around and help plan your Japan trip as efficiently as possible. If you're interested, contact me at my business email, which is located right here, or go to my website, which is located in the description below. Just this past week, the yen slipped to a fresh new low against the US dollar, with the Japanese currency falling to a staggering 155 yen to the US dollar. However, unlike the previous record lows the yen has hit before, this one is definitely a little bit different. The first big difference is this is the first time the yen has been this low in almost 35 years. And if you look back 35 years, you'll notice that this was in the middle of Japan's last major economic bubble, which is when the country's economy first began to stagnate. The second big difference between the yen's last record low is the fact that this new low is after the Bank of Japan's interest rate adjustment, which, by the way, was supposed to strengthen the yen, not weaken it. Plus, not only does the yen appear that it won't get any stronger anytime soon, but it also looks like there is still some room for it to get even weaker. At the beginning of the year, the US Federal Reserve stated that they would lower interest rates a fair amount before the end of the year. With the Federal Reserve expected to lower interest rates over the course of 2024, that was a strong case that the yen would get stronger against the US dollar. However, with hot inflation still being a major issue in America, the Fed is going to keep the interest rates higher for longer. This unexpected change in the narrative could not only cause the yen to stay weak, but it could also lead the yen to continue its downward trend and potentially break new records in the wrong way. So with all of this in mind, it should go without saying that Japan is definitely getting cheaper to visit rather than more expensive like we had all initially thought. However, while this might be good news for tourists, keep in mind that as the yen gets weaker and weaker, it only gets harder and harder for the residents in Japan to afford their basic daily living expenses, as major imports like energy and essential groceries continue to rise in price. So when you visit Japan and you see that extra food item you want to eat in the restaurant, or you go to a souvenir shop and see an extra souvenir that you're thinking about buying, it would go a long way if you decided to just purchase that extra food item or just bought that souvenir you're on the fence about, as the store or restaurant owner would greatly appreciate that little extra income. But while the yen is definitely going through some pretty rough times, there is some good news, which is the yen is getting a major overhaul. Coming in July this year, Japan will be releasing brand new bills for the yen, with brand new faces on the fronts and refreshing artworks on the backs. This is the first time the currency has gone through a major change since 2004, which is a pretty big deal. So if you're heading to Japan before July of this year, now is the perfect time to start collecting some of those old bills, you know, for collector's reasons. And if you arrive on or after July of 2024, then you'll be in for a nice little surprise when you see the bills have undergone a major change. So while the yen isn't going through the best of times right now, at the very least there's some cool new designs coming out for the yen that you'll be able to see coming out this summer. And as if we haven't talked about money enough, there's still some more money related news that I have to share with you. Osaka's government is contemplating a tourist tax for any traveler that plans on visiting the city in 2025. At the beginning of March, the governor of Osaka announced that they are looking to implement a plan to start charging foreign tourists a tax to visit the city limits by 2025. While the hotel tax is already in place in most major cities, the levy that's being considered in Osaka would be a separate charge entirely and be the first of its kind in Japan. The reasoning for this new levy is Osaka's concern for over-tourism, which is a similar worry that is being echoed over in Kyoto as well. This new levy, should it be put into effect, will begin next year to coincide with the start of Expo 2025, a major world event that will last for 6 months in Osaka. This definitely isn't the first time we have heard about a tax being implemented due to over-tourism. Mount Fuji was one of the recent areas to have a fee introduced, hoping to curb excessive tourists from congesting the mountain and creating safety risks. Not only that, but we have also seen famous islands and cities start implementing special fees on visitors. Whatever the case may be with Osaka's levy situation, I'm sure it's going to be quite a while until we hear more news on what the price is going to be or if they're even going to implement it. While we aren't 100% sure about this tax and whether it's going to be implemented or not, you can be 100% sure about another major tourist factor that is about to come into play in the next few weeks. Golden Week is nearly upon us, and with that will come a flood of tourists, both domestic and abroad. For any of you who may not know, Golden Week will be from April 29th to May 5th this year and is a major holiday for Japanese residents. During this week, festivals and special events will take place all across the country. But even more importantly, this also means that everyone in the country is pretty much going to be traveling around throughout this entire week. Not only that, but an article from Kyoto News also supports this predicted surge of travelers, with Japan forecasting that travel will return to 90% of pre-pandemic levels for Golden Week, which is a staggering 23 million people. This should go without saying, but if you're going to be traveling around during Golden Week this year, be prepared for long lines at any place you might visit, reservations for special restaurants to be fully booked up, and many other headaches and common side effects that are associated with major national holidays. If you haven't booked something and it falls within this week, be sure to do so now before you get shut out and the event becomes sold out. Speaking of not missing out on special events, there is one special place in Tokyo that has recently opened its doors to the public and is a place that you will not want to miss while you're in Tokyo. Just this past week, Japan's government opened special rooms in Akasaka's State Guest House building, which have never been seen by the public before. For any of you who aren't familiar with this place, Akasaka State Guest House is used to host foreign dignitaries and officials during their stay in Tokyo. And as you can guess by its purpose, this is a very nice attraction to visit in Tokyo due to its stunning and classical architecture. But while the building in general has been open to the public since 2016, it is now opening special rooms to the public for the first time ever. From April 11th to April 26th, they will open the Nishi no Ma room, which showcases and preserves items such as folk crafts that were donated by prefectures around Japan at the time the building started to be used as a state guest house. And after April 26th, they will open even more rooms to the public for the first time as well. We visited this past weekend and it is definitely worth checking out. It is a pretty hidden spot in Tokyo, so you definitely will not see a lot of tourists here, especially compared to Shibuya or Shinjuku. Plus, with all the importance around this building and significant officials visiting Tokyo every year, this is a perfect place to take in all the culture and architecture inside these magnificent rooms. But if you're wondering why I don't have any footage of the inside, well, that's because they don't allow cameras in there. So that's just all the more reason that you should go check this place out for yourself. And finally, it looks like there is a new type of tour if you want to check out a different side of Tokyo. And that would be the new public toilet tours. Over the past few years, Tokyo has revamped over a dozen public toilet stalls into unique and interesting pieces of art. The movement toward these artistic and stylish facilities is an attempt for Japan to show everyone that public toilets don't have to be something you dread using because they are usually dirty, but rather make it a unique and interesting experience. I have already visited some of these toilets, and I would highly recommend checking out a few of these just because you will never see this type of public facility in any other major city in the world. And it seems that tour guides have realized this as well, and as crazy as it seems, are now offering guided tours so you can see all of these artistic marvels firsthand. But because this type of tour is still brand new, most guided tours are in Japanese only. However, don't let that discourage you, as there are many websites that provide the locations of all of these unique marvels so you can visit them for yourself. And finally, for the bonus news I promised you. Just last week on April 11th, a 10 million yen or $68,000 gold bowl was stolen from a Japanese department store exhibition. It surprisingly didn't take the police very long to tracked the suspect down, and the authorities arrested a man identified as Masaru Horie on April 13th. He was apprehended very quickly because Horie thought it was a good idea to pawn off the highly valuable bowl, which, by the way, if you ever pawn off big purchase items, you are required to show your identification and record who you sold it to. So yeah, when he still decided to go through the sale at the pawn shop, I would think that that's not the smartest move. When the police asked him why he did it, Horie's response was he initially just wanted to use it to drink tea, and then decided it would just be better to sell it. With all of this in mind, I think it's safe to say Horie did not think through this plan very well. But I hope he thinks that stealing this highly valuable item is still worth it, because even though he sold the bowl for a fraction of what it's actually worth, he is most likely going to be serving a full sentence in jail. Contact me at my business email if you want some help planning a trip to Japan. Like this video if you found it useful. Subscribe for more Japan content, and check out my affiliate links below for when you plan your next trip in Japan. Alright, that's gonna do it, and until next time, I'll see you then.